Okay, we are back here on the bright side. I'm not sure if anybody, not sure what that was about here, but we'll forego our introduction. Hopefully, if you guys are listening to the program, you know who I am and what I'm doing. So, let's get right into it here. We're talking about the generic nature of disease. We've been talking about vitamin E, dementias, and how dementias really are the manifestation of just standard generic old breakdown in the body. Vitamin E is tremendously multifunctional, and its multifunctionality has to do with the fact that it addresses the humble little cell. And this little cell, the breakdown of this little cell, is what accounts for chronic degenerative diseases of all kinds, whether we're talking about the disease in the brain, diseases in the brain, we're talking about diseases in the heart, the blood vessels, the liver, or anywhere else. The fact that vitamin E is cell protective gives it multifunctionality. It's protective against excitotoxins, MSG, from flavor chemicals. Interestingly, by the way, one of the main pharmaceutical strategies for dealing with Alzheimer's disease are drugs that block excitotoxins. In fact, the drug Namenda, memantine, chemical name, works by blocking excitotoxicity. Now, it doesn't work very well because while there may be an element of excitotoxicity when it comes to Alzheimer's, there's still the dead and disrupted and broken and sick brain cells that have to be dealt with. And there's still the low blood oxygen that has to be dealt with. And there's still the malnutrition of the brain cells that has to be dealt with, and there's nothing that drugs can do to address malnutrition of cells, low blood oxygen, or toxicity. There's nothing Namenda can do or any other drug. Even the package insert that comes with the medication, Namenda, Namenda, by the way, even the package insert says, quote, there's no evidence that memantine, which is the chemical name, prevents or slows neurodegeneration in patients with Alzheimer's disease. Can you believe this? This is the drug. This is the drug that's marketed for Alzheimer's disease. And right in the package insert, it says, there's no evidence that it works. This is the craziness of our medical model. Now, why would somebody take a drug when there's no evidence that it works? Because we don't realize that drugs are poisons and toxins that need to be cleared out by the body. Oh yeah, Namenda is also being recommended for Parkinson's disease. How interesting is that? What is that telling you when the same drug is recommended for two different diseases? It tells you that researchers are thinking that the mechanisms behind both diseases are the same, and they are. Parkinson's disease is Alzheimer's disease of the back of the brain, the substantia nigra, the movement center of the brain. Likewise, Alzheimer's disease is Parkinson's disease of the thinking part of the brain. They're the same disease in a different place. Yesterday, an article or a study was published in the journal Science Signaling and found the same vascular blood vessel symptoms of atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries, is found in the brain of dementia patients. The same thing. Heart disease is Alzheimer's disease. Headline. I'm not kidding you here. This is the headline. Atherosclerosis is Alzheimer's disease of blood vessels. Where have you heard this before? We talk about it every day. All diseases are the same thing. You don't need a journal article from Science Signaling to corroborate this. It's just common sense. Atherosclerosis is Alzheimer's disease of blood vessels. Now, they didn't say that atherosclerosis is Alzheimer's disease of the circulatory system, but they might as well have. This is the key point, the major point of what I call the bright side philosophy or the bright side approach to chronic degenerative disease. From a healing perspective, from a cell perspective, this is where all healing and all disease began. From a cell perspective, diseases are all the same. And this is the idea of simplexity that we talked about yesterday. The simple underlying threads that run beneath, run underneath, or run as the fabric of the quilt of disease. No matter how complicated the quilt is, no matter how elaborate the quilt is, it's got threads. It could be crazy, baroque, and elaborate and complicated on the surface, the quilt and the blanket can be, but it's a couple of threads that are creating it. The same basic threads underlie all chronic degenerative disease. Talked about the first one yesterday, the cell. Just hundreds of different types of cells, 200 different types of cells in the body. But if you're dealing with a CDD, one of those types of cells, guarantee, is sick, is broken, is disrupted, is perturbed. And that is great news if you're dealing with a chronic degenerative disease. Because while cells aren't going to listen to the doctor, cells are not responsive to the medical model unless, well, I shouldn't say that. Cells are responsive to the medical model if they're killed or if they're removed entirely or if they're poisoned. But if you want to help a cell, if you want to restore a cell back to optimum functioning, or at least prevent it from dividing into dysfunctional cells, you need the Mighty 90 essential nutrients. That's cell food. What we call the Mighty 90 essential nutrients, the vitamins and the minerals. Those are the bare bones minimum requirements that a cell needs to do its business. That's why they're essential. They're like water and food are to the human. The Mighty 90 essential nutrients are to the cell. A cell is a little microcosm of a human being, and just like the human being needs nutrition, the cell needs nutrition as well. The Mighty 90 essential nutrients are what the cell eats. The vitamins, the minerals, the essential fatty acids, the essential amino acids, these are cell food. It's what the cell eats. Oxygen is cell air. And a clean environment for the cell to do its work means cleanse of excess sugar, which is a toxin, excess acid, which is cell waste, excess radiation and non-nutritional metals and other poisons that we've, in our infinite wisdom as human beings, have saturated our environment with. And that includes drugs, by the way. That's all a cell needs, you guys. They're not going to listen to a doctor, but they're not going to listen, or they're not going to pay attention to the drugs or the surgical procedures or the radiation or whatever the heck a doctor's doing. But what they will listen to are the Mighty 90 essential nutrients, oxygen, and a clean place to do their work, a detoxified place to do their work. Beneath all organ, system, tissue disease, you will find a messed up cell. If we think we got a bad heart or we have Alzheimer's disease or eczema or psoriasis, we're missing the point. And this is true about cancer especially, by the way. Nothing exemplifies cellular dysfunction more than the disease cancer. Yesterday, President Obama in his State of the Union speech, yes, I listened to his State of the Union speech, I don't know why, I just wanted to see what he was going to say. Didn't say anything, of course, except how great the last 8 years were. I don't know where he's been living. Anyway, President Obama said that we're going to cure cancer, just like we walked on the moon. He repeated this crazy, ignorant medical claim. We're going to cure cancer just like we walked on the moon. But if you've been listening to this program, you understand about cancer, and you understand what cancer really is, and cancer's relationship to stressed out cells, you know you don't cure cancer. Cancer is a response to a tweaked out environment, a toxic cellular environment, a starved cellular environment, and a hypoxic, low oxygen cellular environment. And this is why cancers almost always return. All right, we'll continue when we come back from our break. 844-236-6010 is our number. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. Okay, we're back on The Bright Side. 844-236-6010 is our number. If you have questions about health or nutrition or prescription drugs, if you want to get off your meds and get on a good nutritional supplement program, we can help you do that. If you have questions about the longevity products, or if you want to contribute to the conversation, we're talking about cancer, Alzheimer's disease, vitamin E, and most importantly, the generic nature of all chronic degenerative diseases. This idea that there's all these special illnesses and special diseases does not serve us, the individual. It serves the power structure. It makes us give up. Learned helplessness is the psychological term. Learned helplessness is the best friend of all power trips, all authority structures. They like us to learn to be helpless. This is what the idea of curing cancer is about. Oh, we need some kind of medical genius to cure the disease. We're just sitting here minding our own business, and cancer attacked us. This isn't about blaming the victim, by the way. This is about empowerment, taking our power back. Obama said yesterday, medical research is critical, as if cancer disease is some kind of mystery, and we need medical research to tell us what's going on with cancer. How much medical research do we need? Do you know how much medical research we've had over in dealing with cancer since the war on cancer kicked in 1970? Oh, by the way, since then, cancer diagnoses have gone up 60%. Yes, we're living longer, by the way. This is what doctors consider to be success. We're living longer. And maybe it is a success, but have you ever seen anybody living longer with cancer on chemotherapy? It is not a pretty sight. It is not a pretty sight. As we said yesterday, the body is protected against cancer. Cancers are not supposed to occur. The body is protected. There's 8 mechanisms that the body has. And there are 8 ways that the cancer cell there are 8 safety steps or safety valves that the cancer has to bypass or has to take advantage of. Cancer cells ignore anti-growth signals. Cancer cells have their own signals. They become autonomous in terms of interpreting cell signals. Usually, a cell's not going to grow unless its neighbors give it permission to grow. That's how cooperative the cellular community is. They only grow when they're allowed to grow by their neighbors. How cool is that? There are anti-growth signals that are secreted by a cell's neighbors. There's also a programmed cell death. Cells are programmed to die, so they can't reproduce immortally. Cells have figured out how to become immortal by using enzymes that help extend the little shoestring called telomere. You probably have heard of that. Youngevity has some telomere extending products, anti-aging products, and this is an anti-aging strategy actually to keep telomeres from shriveling up too fast. Telomeres are like little shoestrings that are hanging out from a cell, being metaphorical here. And as the cell divides and divides and divides, the shoestring kind of begins to break down and disintegrate and gets shorter and shorter and shorter. And then when there's no more telomere, the cell just dies. It doesn't reproduce any longer. Cancer cells have figured out how to bypass that. Cancer cells have figured out how to bypass the body's immune system. Cancer cells have figured out how to use energy incredibly fast. Cancer cells extract energy from sugars super duper fast, unfortunately very inefficiently. That's why they don't do their work. Cancer cells have figured out how to attract blood vessels, their own personal concierge of nutrition. How do you like that? Basically sugar, by the way. Cancer cells have figured out a way to hijack the circulatory system so that they'll have their own personal supply of blood vessels. That's pretty amazing. You got to give the cancer cell some credit here. And then, as if all that weren't enough, cancer cells have figured out how to spread to other parts of the body, so-called metastases. They'll actually navigate their way through the circulatory system. They can actually dig holes in the circulatory system to enter into different parts of the body. They figured out a way to spread. This is a very common thing that cells do when they mutate, by the way. When cells mutate, they spread. That's the next step after mutation, is spreading. So in any case, cancer is not supposed to happen. It only happens when a cell is burdened beyond, it doesn't know what else to do. It's at its wit's end. And you don't cure cancer. What you do is you prevent it from occurring. You change the environment. No more than you cure a plant that has fungus on it. You don't cure a plant of fungus, you change the soil. Cancer cells only exist in a soil, in the appropriate soil for those cancer cells to exist in. How do you get rid of cancer? How do you change cancer? You got to change the soil. You got to change the ground that the cancer cells are thriving or the cancer cells are proliferating in. Cancer is the ultimate example of being fooled by complexity. On the surface, it looks like just this incredible, disastrous mess. You got all these triggering factors. Doctors will tell you they don't know what causes cancer specifically because what they're doing is they're looking at what are called secondary causes. Secondary causes are things like radiation or particular drugs or other kinds of poisons. Those are secondary causes. But all cancer cells have only one primary cause. They are sugar burners. They don't burn oxygen, they burn sugar. This is an inefficient way of extracting energy to do their business, but over the course of time, as a cancer cell becomes deprived of oxygen, it doesn't know what else to do. And by the way, cells are always becoming cancerous. But these mechanisms, these safety steps that we talk about, keep the cancer from growing. So thread number one, the The simple thread that runs behind all chronic degenerative diseases, no matter how complicated and complex they seem on the outside, is the cell. That's the first distinction to make if you want to reverse your Alzheimer's disease, your arthritis, your autoimmune disease, your cancer, your acne, your whatever. If your disease is not getting better, the first distinction you want to make, if you're interested in reversing it, if you're interested in getting it better, is to make the distinction of the cell. And once you make the distinction of the cell, then it becomes common sense. You want to feed the cell, you want to breathe the cell, and you want to keep the cell from being toxic. Now, there's a second very important simple thread that runs beneath all chronic degenerative diseases, no matter what those are. And that second thread is inflammation. So important. We hear this word all the time in the world of health and nutrition. By the way, when you hear the word inflammation, what you want to think of is flame, fire. That's the most notable, the most significant quality of the inflammatory process is fire. It's heat. It's burning. Inflammation means burning, inflame, in fire. Inflammation is the body's iconic protective response. This fire acts like a barrier. That's the purpose of inflammation. Inflammation is like a fire barrier that protects the rest of the body from a broken down area, whether it's broken down cells or whether it's trauma. And there's two kinds of inflammation. This is where it gets a little confusing. You know, most of us think we know what inflammation is because when we get a black eye, the swelling, that's said to be inflamed or inflammation. We break our leg or sprain our ankle or twist our knee, the swelling that's associated with the trauma, everybody knows that's inflammation. Inflammation is a kind of swelling, a puffing. It's a shock absorber. It's kind of like an airbag. An airbag is your car's inflammatory process. An airbag is inflammation. All right, hang tight. We'll finish up when we come back and take your phone calls as well. We do have lines open. 844-236-6010 is our number. 844-236-6010. You're listening to The Bright Side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Okay, we are back on The Bright Side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Got lines open for you. Got a whole bunch of lines open for you. 844-236-6010 is our number. Hang tight if you're on hold. We'll get you just a moment. 844-236-6010 if you have questions about health, nutrition, prescription drugs, if you want to wean yourself off your meds and get on a good nutritional supplement program, if you want to comment on what we're talking about today. What do you think? Have you been diagnosed with some kind of long-term chronic degenerative disease and you're on a long-term chronic degenerative disease drug and you're not getting better? Let us help you. Let us help you wean yourself off your meds, get on a good nutritional supplement program, and heal yourself God's way, the divine way, the way you're supposed to be healed and reversed, or your disease is supposed to be healed and reversed. Study shows beneficial effects of blocking brain inflammation in model of Alzheimer's disease. How do you like that? The beneficial effects of blocking brain inflammation. What is inflammation? It's a defensive response. Something's attacking the body. I'm telling you guys, what we're talking about here on this program every day, if you do the research, if you go into the literature and you connect the dots, every single thing we're talking about today not only makes sense, it's in the literature. I collect stacks of papers. I'm researching every single day, and I haven't seen one iota of evidence to indicate that what we talk about here every day on The Bright Side is in any way incorrect. You just got to read between the lines. You got to connect the dots. It's all out there. PubMed.com. P-U-B-M-E-D, PubMed.com. That's where I get all this information from, and also scholar.google.com. Psoriasis tied to 14 other autoimmune diseases. People with psoriasis have significantly higher odds for having at least one of 14 other autoimmune diseases, according to a study published online in the Journal of American Academy of Dermatology. No kidding, because it's the same thing. Psoriasis is rheumatoid arthritis of the skin. I'm telling you guys, if you're dealing with a chronic degenerative disease, this should be the best news you've ever heard. Now, I don't have a chronic degenerative disease, but I've seen a lot of them. And I know how miserable they are, and how scary they are, how out of control you feel. What we're talking about here on the bright side puts the control back where it belongs, in our laps, and away from the medical model that at the end of the day doesn't really care as long as they get paid. Yeah, there may be some kindly, nice doctors out there, but they're going about their business no matter what's happening to us. It's up to us to take care of ourselves and our family. That's what the bright side's all about. 844-236-6010 and our number. Good morning, Diane. What's going on? How you doing?
Morning. I have a few problems, but my main problem is...
I'm sorry, can you speak into the phone? It sounds a little muddy.
Okay. That's my main problem, too. I have a speech impediment.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, got it.
No, that's right. I'm 72. I take no medications. I don't go to the doctor. I do have an ear infection, and it's been for, over 6 months, and it leaks, and it smells horrible. It started bleeding, but...
Okay, now hang on. You're going to have to go a little bit slow here, Diane, because I'm trying to get your words. You have an ear infection, and did I hear you say it was bleeding?
It oozes out like smelly.
Smelly, like there's a smelly exudate coming out of the ear?
Yes.
Okay, that's the bacterial infection more than likely. Bacteria emit gases, and those gases don't smell very good. So you're probably smelling the gases that are coming out of the bacteria. You need some antibacterial stuff in the ear. Now, you said you're 72. Did I hear you say that?
Pardon me?
Did you say you're 72? I don't mean to offend you. I thought I heard you say
yes,
you're 72 years old. Okay, so you got other things going on, Diane. You ain't Superwoman. Okay, so that's the thing.
The only thing I have going on is a plump ahead. I can run, jump, I can do somersaults, But my head, I have macular degeneration, hard of hearing, and a hole in the roof of my mouth the size of a dime.
How did the hole come? Just gradually?
Unfortunately, 4 years ago, I had an implant done.
A dental implant?
Yes. And,
all right. See, they left a hole there. All right. Here's the deal. I'm going to be frank with you. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Okay? You're falling apart, girl. You're just falling apart. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is you can turn it around. It doesn't matter, and this is what we've been talking about, and what we'll continue talking about it. I will talk about it till the day I die. It doesn't matter where your breakdown is occurring. Macular degeneration means it's occurring in the eye, okay, or the macula part of the eye. But you're having the same problem in the top of your mouth, in the roof of your mouth, and very likely you're having it inside your ear. You said you're hard of hearing. So your body is just starting to break down. And when I say your body, I mean the cells of your body are starting to break down. Oh, it's all about the cell. Does that make sense how I explain that, Diane? How it's all about the cell, the building block, the bricks, not the wall, but the bricks. A wall is made of bricks, right? Well, you don't want to focus on the wall. You want to focus on the bricks, because a wall is only as strong as its bricks. Your doctor is going to work on the wall. He's going to paint the wall. He's going to put a covering on the wall. They'll do all kinds of things to the wall because they can't affect the bricks. I'm telling you, you got to work on the bricks. Does that make sense, Diane?
It does.
Okay. The brick only needs 3 things. It needs nutrition, it needs oxygen, and it needs a clean place to do its work. Nutrition is the mighty 90 essential nutrients. Now, for rebuilding things, there's some that are a little bit more important than others, but you need them all. Get on the Healthy Start Pack. For rebuilding, there's some extra important kinds of nutrients. Protein in particular. You should be making sure you're doing lots of protein. You want to make sure that your eyes are electrical, highly electrical. Your ear is highly electrical, too, for that matter. So your electrical tissue seems to be breaking down more rapidly, or at least more noticeably. So you want to start working with electrical nutrients. The B complex, for example. Vitamin C, electrolytes, potassium, calcium. More vegetable juices would be very helpful for you. Make sure you're doing sipping on your Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Then there's the fats that are important, and not just intake, but absorption. It turns out that many of your minerals that are important for building are handled through bile and the liver and the gallbladder. So making sure that you're processing fats correctly. After some of those electrical nutrients in your veggies will be more readily accessed if you mix them up with a little bit of fat. So mix a little butter with your veggies, or braise your veggies. This is great for all eye conditions, by the way. The pigments, the greens, the blues, the reds, these are very protective for the eyes. They absorb electrical energy, and they tend to be fatty. these pigments. And as we get older, we don't absorb them from our broccoli and our green peppers and our squash and whatever veggies we're eating. So making sure you're mixing your veggies with a little bit of oil and maybe braising them with a little bit of oil to release those pigments. And then there's the second two points on the triangle, and that's oxygenation. Make sure you're slow, deep breathing. And in conjunction with slow, deep breathing, make sure you're activating your relaxation nervous system. Please do not underestimate the importance of the parasympathetic or the relaxation nervous system. This is where we heal. And then last but most certainly not least, Diane, macular degeneration and diabetes and sugar problems go hand in hand. Macular hearing problems, hearing issues, and for that matter, tinnitus and dysglycemia, messed up blood sugar, go hand in hand. This is all signs of toxicity. Sugar represents a toxin. So keeping the system clean, especially from refined sugar, is also important, Diane. You notice I didn't say anything specifically about the ears, because you're going to take care of the whole system, and then the system will take care of the specifics, in your case, the ears. Hang tight. We'll finish up when we come back from our break, Diane. And if you're on hold, don't go away. We'll get to you when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We're coming back after this. All right, we're back on the bright side. 844-236-6010 is our number. We're talking to Diane in Miami, Florida. Mm-hmm. Diane, so it's basically the same things that you can do for every other part of the body. I don't know how long you've been listening to the program, Diane, but you'll notice I repeat myself a lot, right? I mean, it's all. Does that make sense how I explain it's all the same kind of thing, except it's happening in the macula or the brain or the bone or the inner ear or wherever it's happening? It's the same basic breakdown phenomena, all degenerative diseases.
Go ahead. I've been on Yosemite for almost since last year. My eyesight has very much improved. My neighbors all know this.
Awesome.
And I just joined your team yesterday because... You
joined my team? The Brightside team?
Right, yeah.
Oh, that means I have to come to Miami, Diane.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And I got the $500 pack or whatever that is. I got the extra selenium this time. I got the Vision FX Extra this time. So I think I'm on the road.
You're good. It sounds like you're good. It sounds like you're good on what you're taking. Here's the two other pieces of the puzzle aside from what you're taking. You want to make sure you're taking, you're oxygenating. Make sure you're getting enough oxygen, hypoxia, low. Okay, good. Make sure you're breathing correctly and blowing off carbon dioxide. And then also make sure that you're keeping the environment, your blood environment, basically, the bodily environment, but specifically the blood clean. Clean of toxins like sugar, number one, and clean of any food toxins as well. If you have digestive issues, Diane, those need to be corrected because food particles of food can activate an immune response when they leak into the blood, microinflammation. Go ahead.
Healthy diet. My daughter is a healthy diet. So my whole body is fine except for my head.
Well, no, it's not, though. You don't want to look at it that way, sweetheart. This is what I'm telling you. Okay. You don't want to look at it like I'm fine except for this. Because if you're breaking down there, you're breaking down everywhere. The body's a system, okay? And I get letters like this all the time. Oh, I got polycystic kidney disease, this lady. I got polycystic kidney disease, but otherwise I'm healthy. You can't be healthy if the body's starting to break down. You're just noticing it in your eyes. Anyway, I got to move on here, Diane. Thank you so much for your call, and I appreciate you being on the team. Appreciate it very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Thanks for listening, too. You guys, you get this? It's not like you just sick in the macula or in the kidney or anywhere else. It's the body breaking down as a system. This is not to be mean. This is to give you your power back. If we think it's just the macula, we're going to go to Dr. Macula to fix our macula. And he's going to give you something for your macula, which has to be a drug, because that's all they do. If your body's breaking down at the level of the macula, it's breaking down everywhere else. You just don't see it yet. Live long enough, you'll see it everywhere. That's what will happen. We don't make it that long, but what happens is the body starts to break down. First, it starts off with a little crack in the macula, and then it breaks. You get another little crack maybe in the bone, another little crack here in the eardrum, a little crack. It's like a wall breaking, a wall dissolving. Just because it dissolves in one part and not the other doesn't mean you have a problem just in that part. It's a field. It's a unified field. The body is, anyway. A unified field. Something's happening in one part, it's happening everywhere. All right, Rodrigo in Monterey. I guess that means Monterey, right? Monterey?
Hi. Hello?
Hey, yeah. Rodrigo.
Hello,
what's up?
Hi. I have a question in regards. I've been suffering for a little over 15 years and acne breakouts and whiteheads. my question to you is, does this really have to do with not able to metabolize sugar? And also, what would you recommend me using topically for acne, scars, and tiny little holes in my face?
How old are you, Rodrigo?
I'm 30.
Okay, so a couple things. First of all, yes, indeed, sugar is a main culprit when it comes to acne, and so is insulin. In fact, it used to be called, do you know acne used to be called skin diabetes back in the day? I'm talking the 60s. And they used to use anti-diabetes medicine to treat acne. That's how your doctor, your dermatologist probably doesn't know this. When I was in pharmacy school in the 80s, one of the important anti-acne medicines was tolbutamide, which is an anti-diabetes medication. So yes, major connection between the two. Go definitely, if you're still breaking out at the age of 30, something's percolating, something's happening. Are you oily too, Rodrigo? Is your skin oily?
I'm sorry?
Is your skin oily?
No.
No, okay.
Sometimes I do get some dry skin, but the dermatologist gave me this Accutane.
Oh, my goodness. You're on Accutane?
I took it for a couple of months, and then it went away, and then just came back again.
Oh, my goodness. You mean you got off the Accutane and your acne came back? How surprising. All right, here's what you want to do. Okay?
I took that for about 9 months, 10 months.
All right, well, I'm going to help you out here, Rodrigo. I'm going to help everybody listening. First of all, you want to go back and listen to my 7 different types of acne, because there's 7 different ways to treat acne depending on the specific biochemical issue you have. However, that being said, there are basic themes that underlie all acne condition. Sugar is one. Mineral deficiency is another, specifically zinc and selenium, especially zinc. Zinc is like I don't like to say one thing, this for that, where you have this medicine or this nutrient for that illness. I hate doing that. Yeah. But zinc is so darn powerful, and zinc is so darn impactful on the skin. It's pretty much, I could violate my this for that rule, my non-this for that rule with zinc, because that's how powerful it is for acne and for the skin in general. 50 milligrams a day zinc picolinate. Here's the interesting thing about zinc. If you take too much zinc, you'll actually break out as much as if you didn't take enough. So you don't want to take too much zinc. I'm going with 50 milligrams a day. If you go to 60, that's not the end of the world, but certainly you don't want to do 100 milligrams a day for a long period of time. It's a good idea to balance your zinc with copper too. 2 milligrams of copper, 50 milligrams of zinc. The best form of zinc is zinc picolinate. Another kind of almost go-to nutritional supplement for dealing with acne. Again, I don't like this for that, but you can sure make a case for this for that when it comes to vitamin A and the skin, and vitamin A and acne. And that has to do with topical too, Rodrigo. So you asked about the scars topically. Acne scars aren't going away. You can improve their appearance, but they're not going away. Don't fall for anybody who tells you they can go away. They can do some plastic surgery techniques that are super deep and invasive. And actually, I've seen some good results. But aside from plastic surgery, you're not going to just put something on an acne scar and make it go away. Now, I had a listener, Mr. X, who says his scars went away, and I haven't yet to see that. So I'm not going to say definitively that scars aren't going away, but I've yet to see scars going away. However, you can improve their appearance dramatically, Rodrigo, with retinol, high concentration of retinol. Go to truthtreatments.com and get our retinol gel, 5% gel. You can improve the appearance, and you can improve the likelihood or reduce the likelihood of further breakouts with retinol. Okay. Now, also topical vitamin C can help, but that's one of the neat things about my retinol 5% gel is you're getting a bunch of vitamin C with it. So retinol 5% gel, vitamin C, these can improve the appearance pretty dramatically of the skin. Another very important nutrient for oiliness, and they say you don't have any oiliness, but it may be that you're not noticing it, vitamin B5, pantothenic acid, really a very unheralded, underappreciated vitamin. Pantothenic acid is important for making steroid hormones, important for helping the body process fats, and there's a very interesting relationship between excess sebum, or seborrhea, as it's technically called, excess skin oils, and vitamin B5. It turns out that vitamin B5 is like a little sponge that sops up excess skin oils. That is topical, as well as internal. Now, if you have any, but you need a lot of it. You need a couple grams of the B5 a day in conjunction with your Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Make sure you're doing the Healthy Start Pack. Also, thinning out skin oils with omega fatty acids can help. That's your ultimate EFAs. If you have any kind of digestive health issues, my friend, you got to correct those. That means bloating or gas or discomfort or diarrhea or constipation after foods. Eliminate those foods and then use supplements for the digestive system. Probiotic supplements are amazingly helpful for all issues, all health issues, but especially for skin issues. Dysbiosis, messed up gut bacteria, will cause eczema, psoriasis, as well as inflammatory issues like acne. So tons of things you could do there, Rodrigo. Topically, though, the retinol 5% gel, that's the way to go.
Thank you. I have one quick question really quick.
Sure.
I heard you speak about proteins, and I do take the Slender FX for longevity, but I've been taking that over a year. I'm a little tired of that strawberry.
You're getting tired of the taste? Eggs? Here's a couple of...
Is there another company that you recommend getting that whey protein from?
Yeah. I like Natural Factors from Canada, and I like One World Whey, in addition to the Slender FX. And you can just get generic whey protein, too. Make sure it's, unless you have a digestive problem, make sure it's the basic hydrolyzed whey protein. You don't need anything fancy. But you can get plain old whey generically, and you can add it to the Slender FX, or you can make your own smoothie with frozen fruit. Go get yourself some organic frozen fruit and throw a couple berries in there and make your own, and a little bit of yogurt maybe, and make your own smoothie and make your own protein smoothie,
okay.
and you'll have your own. You can
so
taste it, be flexible.
You said One World Whey?
One World Whey and Natural Factors. Those are my two favorite. Got to motivate. Rodrigo, thank you so much for your call, buddy. Appreciate it. Hope we helped you out. And thanks for listening. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We'll be at you tomorrow with more good health information on the bright side. Have a wonderful, awesome, beautiful, spectacular day. We'll talk to you all later. Bye for now.